All right, friends, we're going to do another video on Jason Blaha. It's T-Man, and we're going to do a reaction video to the gym lifting, recruiting, fitness slave himself, Jason Blaha. Blaha says the higher protein intake goes, the less relevant carbs versus fat become. Okay.
If protein intake gets high enough, arguments about things like carbohydrates versus fat, at least in terms of body composition, become actually relatively minor points. Again, particularly if you're eating clean whole foods for those. And the reason I say this is because when we look at, again, all the protein overfeeding studies,
The truth is, you shouldn't be eating any carbohydrates, but whatever. The less relevant carbs become, the higher the protein goes. Well, muscles are post-mitotic. It doesn't matter how much protein you eat. You can eat protein from here to high heaven. Those muscle nuclei are post-mitotic. They don't split and divide just because you're lifting weights and eating a bunch of protein. Here, I ate a bunch of protein. They're going to magically split and divide and increase in number so I can further that domain, further muscle growth. No, man, it doesn't work like that, bro. Okay, these people are really daft. And then what do? They start bulking. But I gotta eat more carbohydrates because I gotta build this fake muscle called sarcoplasmic hypertrophy because myofibrillar ain't working for me. I'm a hot gainer. I reach my newbie gain limit, and I reach this limit and that limit and whatever the hell they're talking about there, bro. Just like Blaha.
right? What do we see over and over and over?
Blaha is building absolutely zero muscle. And every of these doctors telling you online, they go, you need to eat more protein to build muscle. No, because muscles have a nuclear domain limit. Doesn't matter how much protein you eat, they're not getting any bigger. They're not building. Now, if you're shrinking, yeah, you definitely want to eat protein so you could bring it back to homeostasis. Get it? If you're starving, whatever you're doing there, I don't know.
As protein intakes get excessively high, body composition tends to improve. Okay? Body composition tends to improve.
Body composition tends to improve if you eat high protein? Yeah, because your body composition, man, if you're eating an artificial diet, it's kind of obvious carbohydrates are artificial to humans. So your body composition is going to look like shit. But if you go back, it'll go back to homeostasis if you eat protein because you're a carnivore. Hello, Blaha, are you really that dumb? You don't understand that humans are carnivores? It's kind of obvious. If you eat what is natural to you as a carnivore, meat, then yes, your body composition will go back to homeostasis like you have. You got fat, and now you're back to homeostasis, Blaha. You're just a lifting slave in a garage. Okay?
All right. That's almost eerie.
On drugs, because that's what you say you're taking, Primo and Test. Okay.
Perspective of if you're trying to be in a surplus of
You're a cosmetic slave.
deficit. In fact, the data tends to show that if you try to force feed enough protein, it's almost impossible to get into a calorie deficit to begin with. People start losing weight, particularly obviously if they lift and train. Okay, so when I make these statements, it is in the context and the assuming you're actually putting in time.
Jackson Triggs Cabernet Sauvignon.
Make these statements, it is in the context.
Why does Blaha think he's relevant in the fitness genre? Nobody listens to him.
And the assuming you're actually putting in time in the gym. Because if you don't, if you're not putting gym time in, let's be realistic, you're not taking body composition or fat loss particularly seriously anyways. And I mean up to your own physical limitations. Obviously, people do have medical limitations. Not everybody is healthy. I accept that fact when I make that statement. But to say you can't do anything, well, then losing a little body fat's probably the least of your concerns at that point. So again, largely irrelevant. Probably training everything. If I'm assuming you're training your arms, your legs, everything. You're training your whole body to some extent. Okay, this is what we're talking about. Okay? Protein is going to be king. Can we make arguments back and forth about if protein is not ultra high? Is there cases where maybe keeping that carbohydrate higher is possibly better for, say, accumulating less body fat? Sure.
What? Carbohydrates make you fat. They can make you fat. I don't know what he's talking about, man. It'll destroy your figure. Carbohydrates, if you're trying to lift in the gym and you're trying to get the body of your dreams, let's just put it this way. I'm very particular about carbohydrates, especially which ones I'm using for specific things. But if you're trying to if you're trying to get a nice physique, you definitely don't want to be eating any carbohydrates. What do you think these fake bodybuilders on stage, when they go for competition, what's the last thing they do? They cut the carbs out. They're on high cutting drugs, and they mostly cut out these carbs because they want to come in shredded and look really, really good, really dry, really whatever. You get the point. So, yeah, man, I don't know. If you want to look really bad, eat carbs, okay?
Absolutely. It's a case to be made for that. Is there a case to be made for, well, if you do go fats, then focusing on omega-3 fats, polyunsaturated fats over specific...
I'm just amazed how old Blaha has become, how old he looks. He has an old 85-year-old body. It's crazy. His face, his head. When I look back at some of his videos and I look at him now, he's aged like crazy. He's been on here, what, 12 years, lifting for 12 years in this, a lifting slave for 12 years on this channel. And wow, has he aged in 12 years. And me, if you go back 12 years, I haven't aged at all. I look exactly the same. Man, haven't changed at all. People even tell me, they go, hey man, you look young. A lot of people tell me, oh, you're young. Even these girls tell me in the gym. I tell them I'm old, and they go, no, you're not. You're a young guy. I go, no, but I'm old. But they go, but you look young. I go, yeah, maybe I look younger, son, but I'm an old person, bro. Pushing 60. But they don't care. They just care about what you look like. They don't give a shit about numbers. Fuck it. But when I look at Blaha, it's almost a sad story to be 47 and look like you're 85.
Saturated fats probably better. Yep. Definitely make a case for that.
Look at this. It's an 85-year-old man. It's an 85-year-old lifting slave man.
All right. I want to be clear. We can make a case for all of these things, and they're not untrue.
He's like these 85-year-old men. Some of these old guys that I know, that they don't eat a lot, and they're really veiny because they don't eat a lot. They're like kind of like in a starvation thing or something. They look like they're starving. That's like Blaha. That's what he did. That's what he's doing. They eat very little. They're really skinny like Blaha.
But here is the big game changer. If you load protein high enough, this all starts to become less important.
He should have stopped and flexed his leg and go like this to show everybody, look at the lads. Woo, look at the lads.
It becomes lesser variables.
Blaha, you should be impressing us with the lines. Come on, show it off, bro.
Okay.
Come on, Borowski, show it off.
Up to the point to where you've had someone bring it up, but you said ultra high carbs have these insulin responses. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, ultra high carbs is going to cause glycation in your body. It's going to cause your mitochondria to dysfunction. May not happen right now, right away, but eventually down the line, they'll become dysfunctional because it happened to me. I don't know. Happens to a lot of people. It happens, and it will happen. It will happen eventually. But he's of course a lifting slave, so he's burning these carbohydrates. He's constantly burning them. That's why they're not totally affecting him, but they're still affecting him because he has psoriasis on his legs and shit. It's a form of eating artificial diet, toxic foods. These toxic foods.
Fuel your training, yeah.
And think about it. Is it that counteractive? You're eating rice, which has arsenic, and you're lifting for health, right? You think, well, I'm exercising because it's healthy. Yeah, but you're eating rice, which has arsenic in it. You're poisoning yourself slowly with arsenic. What do you think your cells are so hungry at this point? They want to absorb anything. You want to destroy them? Okay. Eat rice. Eat arsenic.
True.
Eat these nuts and seeds like Blaha, which have cyanide in them, and go and exercise. Okay.
Guess what? So can protein. But the
Protein doesn't have any bad effects on you, Blaha. It's a high protein. Man, Meat protein is extremely high nutrient diet. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no deficiency in any nutrients in there. Eating animals, dude.
The difference with the protein, better muscle sparing, higher thermic effect. You can eat more food, you're going to be fuller, but with less gastrointestinal distress.
Yeah, okay, if you say so.
Again, the point here being, all those things that we're
What's the point?
getting from carbohydrate, we can still get from protein. And what I'm suggesting is
Everything you could get from carbohydrates, you could get from protein? No. Everything you could get from protein, carbohydrates do not have. They lack everything, okay? I don't know what you're talking about, man.
if we want to be optimal, and I don't recommend this that often. I've historically, for the last couple years, I've shied away from giving that sort of advice.
Why?
And here's why. It wasn't practical. We have had an enormous, basically the worst economy I've ever seen in my life. People don't have money. People can barely afford coaching. They can't afford food. So when I'm over here talking about, eat 400 grams of protein a day, to the general audience out here, they can't afford it.
Yeah, if they eat it raw, if they eat that meat raw, they'll get that 400 grams of protein or whatever, 400 grams or whatever, 300 or 200 or 300, whatever grams of protein they're eating there. If they eat it raw, but if they cook it, of course it's going to be dead. And so they have to go keep buying more food because they're hungry. I'm starving. They're not getting the required nutrients that the body and the muscle requires because they've killed it by putting it on the barbecue or frying it in a pan. You understand me? That's why you have to eat as raw as possible so that you can get the most amount of nutrients in your system. See what I mean? But Blaha, he's against raw milk. He doesn't want you to load up on nutrients. He's against raw milk. He's against raw meat. He says you're going to get poisoned, you're going to die or something. Eating these foods are poisonous when actually the truth is I posted in my community section about milk. He said that raw milk is poisonous, but they tell you that pasteurized milk is poisonous. It is poisonous. Raw milk is not poison, and it doesn't spoil, and it's beneficial for you. And so is butter, Blaha. Butter is beneficial for you. Milk is beneficial for you. Raw milk. So I don't know what he's talking about, but he's trying to convince you that pasteurized milk, which is they add these synthetic vitamins and things to it. Fuck, man, it's garbage. It's garbage.
With the cost of food, with the cost of living, with the economy for a while, this is...
What about the economy? Yes, I know prices have gone up and stuff. I stopped eating at my favorite place, Nations. I was eating there a lot, but I was eating a lot of the slave food diet and fruit and shit and weird stuff. But yeah, the cost of the things have went up. But I didn't notice the cost in meat went up. Not much. The only thing I noticed was when I was buying beef neck bone with meat in it, there was $1.99 a pound and maybe $1.50 on sale or $1.99 a pound. Now they doubled it in price, so it's $4.99 a pound because they got smart. There's a lot of meat there with the bone, so they're like, what are we charging so little? It's meat, it's beef. So everybody's buying it, yeah, because you're getting the bones with the meat and you can boil it down. I don't have to go there and just buy beef bones. They have a section just beef bones alone at $1.99 a pound just for the bone. But they were giving meat and bone for $1.99. So now they jacked it to what is it? $3.99 a pound. Yeah. So yeah, you have to get in when it's good, mostly the prices. But the prices are still relatively good when it comes to fish and the seafood and meat. It's still good. It's good. It's good. And you can find sales everywhere on meat. But the thing is, you have to eat it raw. It's something you have to condition yourself to eat meat raw. That's it. So you can get the required nutrients. So you don't have to throw your money away by killing your food, frying it all day. Eat your eggs raw. If you have to eat eggs, eat them raw. Do not cook them because you're destroying the nutrients in them. What's the point?
Isn't practical advice for most people. This isn't practical.
Here's another thing I noticed. If you eat 6 raw eggs before you go to the gym, I guarantee you're going to feel super strong. Eggs are going to really flow through your system. They're going to make you really strong, man, your lifts. Eating 6 raw eggs. But if you fry your eggs, 6 fried eggs, kill it in a pan, like fry it to death and eat it and go to lift, you're not going to get shit. You're not going to feel shit.
Well, advice for most people, and it still may not be, but is it optimal advice? I'm going to go out on a limb and say for those of you chasing a better physique, there comes a threshold where when protein intake starts to reach a certain threshold, even caring if you're bulking or cutting anymore, this whole concept starts going out the window. You just start recompositioning no matter what. It's just a question of if you're wanting to get...
I like how he says recompositioning. No, you're just going back to homeostasis. You notice your body, you're not starving, you're not in a starvation move, so your body's going to rid itself of all this excessive fluid and weight and whatever you're carrying there. It's going to go away.
Leaner faster, you probably fast more. Right?
You want to get leaner faster, so you have to starve more? That's what he says, right? Starve more, okay.
More fasting time, and if you're not trying to, then you might want to eat for,
Why doesn't he just say what it is, starving? Stop saying fasting, starving.
You get up till you go to bed. But the idea is the same. When protein intakes start getting excessively high, we start losing body fat, even when we try to force a calorie surplus.
Yeah, you want to know why? Because you're going through a feast and not a famine. Look, in the summertime, I showed them my last 2 videos before I left that gym where I was at. I just posted the last 2 videos. I got lean just from eating there all summer. Remember all those videos eating all that meat? Yeah, bro. I got lean super, super, super fast. I didn't have to exercise or go to a gym, literally. I just got lean. I didn't even go to the gym. I only went there to videotape myself in the mirror and I left. That gym was stinky and it sucked. It smelled in there like old gym anyways, that old place. That old steroid gym. It used to be a steroid gym, man. People used to go there. I tell you, the weirdest people used to go to that gym. I don't even know why I went back to that gym. It's the same price what I would pay now here at LA Fitness, which is like next door to me. So I don't know, man. Just ridiculous.
All right? When protein intakes get excessively high, we gain a little bit of muscle, even in a calorie deficit. You see where I'm going here? It starts blurring the lines. And this is something that I recall years ago.
I like how he says calorie deficit. You're not in a calorie deficit. You're in a high nutrient diet. Look, man, cells just want nutrients, so they see it as okay. We're going through a feast. We're getting the required nutrients. Well, we don't need fat on our body anymore, so they get rid of it. It gets rid of it. Yeah.
I laughed at Athlete X over this because he didn't give the best lifting advice. He gave good physical therapy advice. It's his wheelhouse. He used to say this, but it's like, and he stayed shredded year round. And he would say stuff like, well, instead of eating other food, just have protein shakes all the time. Anytime you're hungry, eat a protein shake.
Athlete X is doing something to stay that way all year round.
Protein.
He's an influencer.
Protein. He goes, and then it won't matter. You'll gain muscle no matter what, and it won't matter. And I laughed at that nonsense advice from work, or you're a bulker and quote. And I clowned to some extent, scoffed that advice off. Also because he wasn't very big and he wasn't very strong, but he did stay really shredded and he was in good shape and had.
He wasn't very big and very strong. He's strong enough because he lifts weights. He's stronger than the average person. He's leaner than the average person, but he's taking some for sure. But that's just based on my opinion.
Definitely more muscle than the average guy. Now, in retrospect, as I've gotten older, of course he was a little older than me at the time, as I've gotten older and gained more experience and delved more and more into the deeper nutrition research, observed more stuff as a coach and as an athlete.
Yes.
I've come to realize there's a degree of truth to that. There's a degree of truth to look. You can start not worrying about these paradigms unless you have a certain body weight you want to hit and all of that. If you just keep protein loading. It really is the biggest thing we can do nutritionally for this. Now, I am not advocating people eat junk food. I'm not advocating not eating vegetables and fruit and whole foods. I am not saying that. I want to be very, very clear. I'm actually kind of anti-junk food, for those who haven't figured that out. I don't think you should be eating refined fats, refined sugars, stuff like that. I don't think it's a good idea. I think we all need fiber in our diets, okay? I'm super big on omega-3 fats. So, your context here though, protein. If you consume enough protein, a lot of these other arguments start to just become less important for the pursuit of improved body composition, meaning gaining muscle and losing fat, both over time, okay? They just become lesser arguments. And definitely, well, am I filling them with carbs versus fat? Well, at a certain point, it becomes less important. And I could say you can have preferences that are going to depend upon your individual needs, your individual tolerances, and that has to be accounted for. But really the protein, and we know that when protein starts being matched, they become less important in the grand scheme of things, particularly as it goes up. This is what we see in the literature. Okay? All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today.
Oh, thank God, man. I didn't know when that was going to end. that was painful. I'll see you in the next one, friends. Tell me what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. See you in the next one.
It's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.
Yes, very informative from the lifting slave himself, Jason Blaha.